Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. I am just loving all these conversations that I'm having on creativity, and I hope you are too, finding them inspirational and helpful in order to find creative paths in your own life. I hope that these conversations show you that creativity happens everywhere. And today we're going to have a special conversation with Sebastian, who I see has just joined. Sebastian, hello. If you would like to just press the little camera with the plus button, you can then request to join in on the conversation. Here we go. And so Sebastian has a pretty cool experience when it comes to creativity, and I'm super excited to have this conversation with him today. And here he is. Hi, Sebastian. How are you?
Rose, good to see you. One second, I'm just gonna connect my button.
Yeah, of course. No problem. So just so I can recap, these conversations are about creativity in different elements and different paths of life in different industries. And first off, so you and I met a couple years ago working at the Wonder Museum in Chicago. So we did,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a perfect venue to practice creative thinking for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it was such an open experience with so many different people from different walks of life. It was like a melting pot of creativity, which is so fun. I loved it. um, and so, Sebastian, I would like to begin by first hearing a little bit from you. So, tell me what you're doing now, how and where you are, a little bit more about yourself.
Rose, first and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk on this platform, but also to catch up with you because it's been so long.
It has.
Um, but for those, yeah, but for those tuning in, actually, I should also say congratulations on the book launch too. I'm really excited for what's in store for you. Um, Certainly, you've been busy since we've last seen each other.
Same with you.
But yeah, so for those tuning in, my name's Sebastian, and I'm originally from the Midwest, the greater Chicago area, from the hometown of Crystal Lake, Illinois, but currently reside here in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm currently a master's in public policy candidate at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. I have just one more semester left before graduating. But in addition to working as a grad student here at Harvard, I'm also working on my own nonprofit venture called the International Orchestra of Refugees. It's something that I started a few years ago after I finished my time at Loyola University of Chicago, and it's a program designed to empower forcibly displaced musicians who have been forcibly displaced from their homes, and to empower them through social integration, economic prosperity, and just to empower them in their music.
That's incredible. It's such an amazing venture that you've been on. And I loved like hearing about it and all of your progress over the years. And so this path that you're on now at Harvard seems like the perfect like way to complement your goals with the orchestra as well. So congratulations on that. Very exciting. um,
Thanks. It's really working me to the bone, but I thought it'd be kind of the perfect time and space to nurture a venture like this.
Definitely, yeah. And it's incredible that you're able to find ways to connect those different elements of life. You know, it's not always something that we think about when we're trying to figure out new ways to empower creativity in other people. It's like how do you put two and two together? And especially when it comes to refugees, we don't really understand their needs and what they want to achieve. So I think that your venture has given them like an outlet for self-expression in a time when they may not be able to do that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing. Love it. And so just out of curiosity then, what is your personal definition of creativity?
Yeah, great question. It's something that I'm still working on,
Mm-hmm.
but where I can speak on it as of today is it's the ability to create something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It requires the use of your own imagination. Oftentimes, I feel as if people um, associate creativity exclusively with the arts, which
Mm-hmm.
is a great place to practice creativity. But something I found within my own kind of personal and professional careers is is the ability to implement creativity in fields outside of the arts, to
Mm-hmm.
implement creativity in fields such as sciences, which is I feel like that's something they were able to do when even recently, developing like a CRISPR-Cas9 protein um, to change a genetic sequence or something along those lines. It's not exclusive to the arts. It's something that I practice currently with many of the musicians who have been forcibly displaced. Um, but that's where I'm really at with my definition of creativity, being able to make something out of nothing, being able to add value to something that didn't maybe was seen as not having a lot of value before, and that's who I'm working with right now, the refugee community, being able to showcase to others the immense cultural richness and value that is within inside this community.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And I love that you focus a lot on how creativity comes like from our own imagination. It's something that we already have. Like it's not something you have to go out and buy or get, you know, it's like it's here, it's within you. And so I think that that's so special that you're like honing in on that at this time in your defining creativity. That's fantastic. What are your personal outlets for creativity? Do you play any musical instruments? And I know
I
you.
may or may not play some. Yeah. So actually, it's where I practice creativity most is with my music, and the skills that and different assets that I've acquired as a musician. And that's kind of the one takeaway that I want to give to others, the ability to listen. That is kind of one of the fundamental core concept of being a musician, to listen not passively, but to listen actively,
Mm,
to collect as much, quantitative or qualitative data around you, to listen to all the different sounds, and to be able to interpret and process any of these ideas, any of these sounds, and then be able to kind of execute them, be it, pencil to paper, be it in a program or nonprofit venture that one is working on, like I'm doing with the International Orchestra of Refugees. But my personal outlet is music. So that's where I learned how to listen by playing with different musicians. By that's enhanced my ability to listen actively
mhm,
by playing in an ensemble setting. But also that's also the kind of the perfect space to practice creative thinking, to be able to be quick on the feet,
mhm,
and engage with other persons, because it's you can be as creative as you want within your own personal self, but to be able to share that with others, I'm able to do that uh, really actively through music, through
mhm,
the playing music with others, and yeah, that's where I learned that the act of kind of active listening,
mhm.
and that's the primary tool I use to practice my creative thinking.
I think that's so fantastic, and I think it's also really great that you have acknowledged that you've taken that aspect of your creativity and applied it elsewhere. It's not stagnant and it's not just like tied into your music, but like you said, it's been like something that you've been able to implement in multiple areas of your life, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. I think it's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, to elaborate on that, it's something that I'm trying to do. So I'm getting a master's in public policy right now, and something that I'm learning more and more of by just kind of listening and observing around me is seeing how policy is broken
Mm,
in many places, and something that's critical for all of us to take on is to think creatively as to how to develop new policies using creative thinking, kind
mhm,
of out of the box thinking. Because oftentimes it's the case whenever we revisit policy, even we stick to the things that we know.
mhm.
But sometimes, like I think, especially within recent years and after the pandemic, it's time for us to think creatively as to how we can better take care of our neighbors and our local societies and kind of
Mhm.
nation and globe as overall.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And so I'm wondering also in your studies and in your creative environments, how does collaborating influence your creativity? You know, working with other musicians, other like people in your classrooms and I don't know if you're collaborating with scientists as you were talking about all the different genes and stuff, but how does that influence your ability to create?
Oh, I think in addition to listening, another kind of t key takeaway I have for others to take from this conversation is the power that a fresh perspective can have.
Mm,
Because if you're looking at something with the same pair of lenses over and over again, it can start to become dull, and you can be comfortable with it. But growth really is found outside the comfort zone.
yes.
So that's something that that's kind of been my mantra for the past few years. Collaborating with others gives you that fresh perspective. I, I work in a part of the time I also work in a biogenomics institute here in Boston, and being able to take on these different perspectives and collect this new data, even as to how people have behaved during this outbreak, and all of this is rich and just provides me a new perspective, but which how I can move forward.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think that it's an untapped resource that a lot of us don't always accept. So the fact that you're also focusing in on on gaining new perspectives so that you can continue to grow and better yourself, I think is amazing. And I think it's a really great way to empower your creativity too. So fantastic. Like that's awesome. I love it. And so, how would you recommend people begin their journey on seeking out creativity authentically within themselves?
So what I do um, is I take a look at my calendar, and maybe this answer will apply more to the people who find themselves busy on a day-to-day basis, whether it's being a parent taking care of family, or working 80 hours a week on your job. I think it's really critical to be able to make some time for yourself, put
Hmm.
something in your calendar, even half-hour day, where you're
Yeah.
just doing nothing, even if it's going on a walk. Oftentimes, when I feel just inundated with all of these different tasks and just overwhelmed with all of these different meetings, especially on Zoom, something that's really helped me, it's given me kind of a fresh take, is just even going on walks.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, as you're going on a walk, kind of practicing some of these critical skills like listening. I'll tell you, like, something that really has been a pivotal moment in my life, in terms of my practice, as I talk more and more about active listening, is how I started my venture altogether. I
Mm.
was actually applying for medical school at the time, but during that medical school application process, I looked through my family's social security box, I was looking for my social security card, and I came across this document signed by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, dated 1988, with my family's last name on it. And I'm
Wow.
like, Mom, Dad, what are we doing with the UN? And my dad, says you should sit down for this, and then he discloses to me how he escaped Romania at the height of the communist regime as a refugee musician. So, I didn't come up with the venture immediately afterwards. It
Mm.
required a lot of kind of inner thought. It required a lot of processing.
Mm.
It required a lot of walks. But just making sure that you make time for yourself,
Mhm.
to be able to kind of practice kind of meditative skills. I think that's critical to the first step in trying to practice your creativity. And as
Mhm.
soon as you make that time for yourself, you find your outlet in which you're able to express that creativity, be
Mhm.
it through your work, be it through art, be it through singing, be it through poetry,
Mhm.
you name it. But just make sure you time for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start is just by taking a few minutes at a time, like just giving yourself the freedom to be free thinking, giving yourself the opportunity to just process experiences like the one you had with your dad. I think that's such a pivotal part in starting that creative journey. So, That's awesome. And I'd love to just ask you a little bit more about your orchestra as well. What is the goal for like the mission statement of the Orchestra of Refugees?
So, our mission statement is to empower forcibly displaced musicians to become musical ambassadors of peace through orchestral opportunity and collaborative community. And some fundamental pillars of that is to preserve the cultural heritage of many of these refugees,
Mm-hmm.
to boost social integration, and to find economic prosperity for many of these musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that look like realistically? One day we hope to have a physical orchestra of refugees that can uh, go from place to place and share their story through music. But we have to think creatively as to how, what stepping stones
Mm-hmm.
we is needed to get there. And so, as a precursor to a physical orchestra, what we're developing is a virtual orchestra. Because the physical orchestra is limited to, like a conventional orchestra is limited to like 75 to 100 persons.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take it to a virtual ecosystem, it's the number of participants that can participate is limitless.
Wow.
And currently, 1% of the world's population is forcibly displaced, either as a refugee, asylum seeker, stateless person, internally displaced person, and otherwise.
Wow.
So, as a precursor to that physical orchestra, everything's going to be on a virtual platform. What we'd like to do is to develop a LinkedIn essentially for the musician,
Wow.
one that kind of best showcases their talent
Mm-hmm.
to other potential employers, but more importantly, for the musicians to learn more about one another and create ensembles in the communities in which they now live in.
Wow.
So that's a little bit as to kind of like the grand vision, and there's a lot of other kind of stepping stones that we have in place to get there, but that's what you have in store for us.
That's amazing. And so, how do people get involved? Is it just refugees in the orchestras, or like with social integration, is there opportunity for people who aren't displaced to support or be involved?
Yeah, most certainly. So if you're a musician who has been forcibly displaced in whatever context or setting, again, be it refugee, asylum seeker, stateless person,
Mm-hmm.
internally displaced person, climate migrant, and otherwise, we have a link on our homepage. If you Google search International Orchestra of Refugees, you'll go to the hyperlink iorefugees.org. And it says right there, I want to be an IOR musician. But if you also want to volunteer, there's also another kind of tag on our homepage that says, I want to be an IOR volunteer. And there's many ways that we want to plan to have community members engage with many of these refugee musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes being able to engage in an online music lesson platform where you'll be able to take lessons or just practice cultural engagement with a refugee, resettled refugee in your local community.
Wow.
That's one means of doing so. But we're also going to have a good number of different performance engagements that we have planned, especially closer to World Refugee Day, which takes place on the 20th of June, just next month. So we're about a
Oh,
month away. So there's much in store there.
oh my gosh, that's 1 month from today. That's
Yeah, we have some exciting events planned.
That is so awesome. So everybody needs to go and check out those events coming up as soon as possible because that sounds amazing. And there are so many opportunities to get involved. I'm so excited for all of that. I want to respect your time, Sebastian. I know you're busy, but do you have any last minute thoughts about creativity that you'd like to share with everybody or about your program?
Yeah, if anything, I just kind of want to recap some of the takeaways from today.
Yeah.
It's a really critical skill to practice active listening,
Mm-hmm.
be it through listening to the environment around you, listening to the needs of your community, or kind of also listening to yourself. I think that's important too.
Mm-hmm.
So listening, active listening is key. Growth is found outside the comfort zone. So in whatever ways that you can find that growth outside the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be kind of some of the steps needed to practice creativity.
Right. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'd like to thank everybody else who joined and watched us today. A quick shout out to Christina and the Bebos, which I saw earlier.
Mhm.
All the wonderful people. It was so good to talk to you again. So nice to catch up. Thank you so much for joining me, Sebastian.
Rose, congratulations, and please don't forget me when you're famous.
Oh my, I can never forget. Thank you again, everybody.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.